Well, guys, it's finally that time. After reviewing all these movies, and since it is the end of the year, it is finally time for me to make my top 10 best movies and tell you guys what my top 10 best movies of 2014 are. This is going to be, now before I start this list, I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is my list. So if you guys don't like what's on this list, I'm sorry if you guys don't like what's on this list. But I have a lot of honorable mentions, of course. A lot of people do, and I also have a lot of honorable mentions. So I'm not going to go too in depth with all my honorable mentions. I'm going to simply tell you guys what a few of them are. And let me tell you guys, this was extremely hard to do. It was not easy to compile a list of the best movies of 2014. It's not easy to do that. It really was not easy at all. And it was very difficult. It really was very difficult. And there was a time when a bunch of movies got switched, or a time when a bunch of movies were on this list that wasn't. So we're gonna start off with my honorable mentions, and I'm gonna just give you guys a very long list, and a few of them I will go in depth with. But let's just talk about them. Now, the following movies are not on my list: The Grand Budapest Hotel, 22 Jump Street, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Locke, Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are not on my honorable mentions, but they used to be. But I still love all those films. They're not on this list simply because they're just other films that were better. How to Train Your Dragon 2 is also not on this list. That was my favorite anime movie of this year. It's not on this list because while I love that film, it is not as good as the other 10. Foxcatcher was almost on this list, but of course that movie did have a lot of editing problems, and it didn't impress me as much as some of the other films. Fury is not on this list. Now I really love Fury, and I really want to put it on this list, but Fury in the long run was not as good as the other 10 films on this list. Startup was another film that almost was on this list, but I didn't put it on there because there were other films that I loved more than Startup. Interstellar is not on this list. St. Vincent, The Babadook, The Guest, and the closest one, the one that almost was on this list. These two were almost on this list. The Babadook and John Wick were almost on this list. They were about this close to being on this list, but there were a bunch of other films that were just better than those films. They were better than those, and unfortunately, because of that, they did not make their way onto this list. Now, again, guys, this is my list. I'm gonna say right now, this is my list, and number 10 already, we have a tie. Number 10, I could not decide which film I liked more. I couldn't decide which film I wanted to really put in number 10, so I made a tie. And these films are not similar at all. I have no idea why I made these two a tie. They're not similar at all. They don't have the same messages or anything, but they are in my top 10. And those two films that are in a tie are The Skeleton Twins and Nightcrawler. Now, The Skeleton Twins is still the biggest surprise of this year. I did not expect to love this film as much as I did. I really didn't. I think it was a fantastic story that they really, yes, I did get this movie on Blu-ray for Christmas. I'm very happy I did. But it was a fantastic story that really drove home very well. I love the idea of The Skeleton Twins. I thought it was a great movie. And I love that movie. But Nightcrawler, I had to put on this list because how can you forget Nightcrawler? First of all, Jake Gyllenhaal gives the best actors, probably the best actor's performance of this year. He really did. He gave the best actor's performance of this year. I thought he was absolutely fantastic in this movie. And the movie itself was very good. I love the movie. It had a great story. The story was very good. It had a fantastic ending that I loved. It had a very awesome climax that I'll never forget, and I love Nightcrawler, and that's really why I couldn't choose between these two. They are both number 10, and I both love both of these movies. They both were fantastic, and I love both of them. I thought they were both really fantastic movies, and they were both fantastic. Number 9 is one of the most awesome movies of the year. This originally was my pick for the most awesome movie, most badass action movie of the year. But then another movie came along. Number 9 is X-Men Days of Future Past. X-Men Days of Future Past is such a fantastic movie. I love X-Men Days of Future Past because what it did, and a lot of people have said this, it basically fixed all the mistakes the franchise had made previously. It really fixes all of those mistakes. It really does do that. And by doing that, it really helped the movie a lot. I definitely love that the movie did that. I love the idea of Expedition Future Past. I love the story of it as well. It really was one of the best summer movies by far. The story of it is probably the best. It's definitely the best X-Men movie we have ever had. It is better than X2. It's better than all of them. It really is the best one we've ever had. Everyone in this movie was extremely fantastic. Sorry, guys, I keep clearing my throat. I don't know why. But everyone in this movie was extremely fantastic. I thought everyone was perfectly casted. And that's why X-Men Days of Future Past just had to be number 9. It had to be on there. And I love this movie. I think it is just an absolutely fantastic movie. And I loved X-Men Days of Future Past. It was a great movie. I loved it. Number 8 is a movie that originally was much, much higher on my list. When I say this movie was much higher, it was much, much higher. But unfortunately, I had to lower this movie. And it's not that I still don't love this movie. I still do love this movie. And I still think this is one of the best performances of the year. Number 8 is Under the Skin. Under the Skin was a film that I absolutely love. Because Under the Skin really is a movie about a woman who is completely confused, who, is trying to adjust to life being an alien pretty much. And it's a movie that you really can't find out too much. If you guys still don't know the plot of Under the Skin, then you really can't, then I'm not going to spoil the ending. But the ending to this movie is one of the most genius endings of the year, definitely. It's very, very weird, but it's one of the most genius endings of the entire year. I absolutely love the ending to this movie. It was a fantastic movie. I loved the ending. I thought it was a fantastic way to end the movie, and I absolutely loved the ending to this movie. It was a great ending. I loved it, and I really loved everything about Under the Skin. I thought it was a fantastic movie. Scarlett Johansson gives the best performance of her career in this movie. She really did, and she really drove the point home perfectly. And I think the movie really showed that, and I loved what this movie was trying to show, and I think they did a great job of showing it. I love Under the Skin. It's a fantastic movie, and I still love it. I still love the movie. I still think it's fantastic, and that's why it's my number 8. That's why it is, and I love Under the Skin. Now, number 7 is another movie that I originally put much higher on this list. But unfortunately, it had to get lowered, and this was not a very good year for musicals. It really wasn't. This was honestly a very bad year for musicals. However, there was one musical film that actually was very good, and that movie was Into the Woods. I know a lot of people did not like this movie, but really, if you guys look at it, this is a movie about wishes and how wishes affect us and the consequences of wishes. That's really the whole point of Into the Woods. That's the whole story of it. That's the whole idea of what this movie is trying to show. And I think they got that point across very, very well in this movie. They really portrayed that in a very good way. They really did portray that, and I love the way they portrayed it in this movie. Definitely, they did a very good job of portraying that message. The singing was awesome. Meryl Streep gives one of the best performances of her entire career. The acting was awesome in this movie. The story was great. The parodying of the princes were great. The stories of Cinderella, Red Riding Hood, and Jack and the Beanstalk were wonderfully told. They had some awesome Broadway performers. They really showed that all these actors can sing very well. It also showed that Johnny Depp still does have sort of a career. He sort of still has a career. Even though people don't think he does, he still sort of has a career. A lot of people don't think he does, but he does sort of still have a career. And that's what Into the Woods showed. It really was a fantastic movie that I loved. And while a lot of people did have problems with it, I personally didn't. And I still love this movie. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I loved the story of Into the Woods. It really was a fantastic movie. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's still playing in theaters. So definitely see it because it's fantastic. Now, number 6, I recently reviewed this movie. The next 2 movies I'm reviewing actually are my 2 most recent reviews. The 2 most recent. This one I just recently reviewed, and I saw it last night, and I absolutely loved it. Number 6 is Edge of Tomorrow. I had to put Edge of Tomorrow on this list. Edge of Tomorrow is such a fantastic movie. It's such an original concept. It's something that I don't think has been done before, which has, the man being the one that is more shy or scared of going going to war and things like that, and the woman be the one to train him. And I think it's a very good concept that did that very well. 2 movies with Emily Blunt back to back, I just realized, for 7 and 6. I just realized that. But Edge of Tomorrow was such an awesome movie with some of the best action scenes of the year. Edge of Tomorrow is the best action movie of the year. They just portrayed everything so well in this movie. I love the emotional core in this movie as well. There were some very funny moments. I love the comedy in this movie. It really had a lot of really good comedy, and I think Edge of Tomorrow just showed that in a very good way, and I really love that they showed that in Edge of Tomorrow. I absolutely loved Edge of Tomorrow. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out now. It's a fantastic movie, and that is why Edge of Tomorrow is number 6. I loved it. Number 5 is my most recent review. This movie, I did not expect to affect me as much as it did. I didn't expect to love this movie as much as I did. Number 5 is The Imitation Game. I think I just love the idea of this movie. You know, this movie really shows how homosexuals used to live, how they had to cover up who they were, how they didn't get to be themselves, how they really didn't get to live a very good life. And I think the movie showed that in a very good way, and especially by Benedict Cumberbatch's performance and everything. And that really illustrated why I love this movie so much. The directing was fantastic. The cinematography was perfect. Any movie with the Holocaust, any movie that involves World War II or the Holocaust, I'm in. I love the story of it. Even though it's a horrific story, it's always amazingly portrayed. And this took that and made it completely different. It showed a man who basically, ended the war, and you really care about Alan Turing. He's one of the best characters of the year, definitely. I was really into his role. This is the best role that Benedict Cumberbatch has played, and that is why The Imitation Game is number 5. It's a fantastic movie, and I love it. I love The Imitation Game. It's fantastic. Fantastic movie. If you guys have not seen it, definitely check it out right now. I just saw it in theaters today. I love this movie. It's a great movie. Number 4. Originally, this wasn't even on my top 10 list. I'm going to be honest with you guys. But I recently watched this movie again. I recently watched it on Blu-ray. And I forgot how much I love this movie. Number 4 is one of the best thrillers of the year. Number 4 is a movie that proves that the sequel can outdo the predecessor. It is the best sequel of the year. It is the only sequel that really topped the first one. Number 4 is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And I know what you guys are saying, why is this so high on your list? Well, originally, guys, it wasn't even on my list. But rewatching this movie, I remembered how much I love this movie. The struggle between the humans and the apes, showing that the humans are, don't really know if they should trust the apes or not. The apes don't know if they should trust the humans. Just that whole aspect is good. The battle for power is great. All of that is really good. This really is a story about struggle, and I wouldn't count this as an action movie. I really would not. I would count this definitely as more as a dark thriller or even a sci-fi movie. That's really what I count it as. It really is a fantastic movie that gave some of the best performances. Andy Serkis in this movie is absolutely fantastic. Gary Oldman was great. Everyone's fantastic. This movie is one of the best battle sequences of the entire year. I love the battle sequences of this movie. The climax of this movie is just awesome. The climax is huge, and it has one of the best villains of the year, definitely. One of the best villains of the year is in this movie, and I think the movie portrayed that in an amazing way. I love the idea of it. The CGI was great, and I can't wait for the next movie. I can't wait for the next Dawn of the Planet. I can't wait for, the next Dawn of the Planet of the Apes movie. I can't wait for it, and that's what a sequel should do. It should get you excited for the next one, and that's what this movie did. It got me excited for it, and I loved Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. That's why it was such a fantastic movie, and that is why it is number 4. Number 3 is definitely the most surprising movie on this list. I never expected to love this movie as much as I did. It honestly is the most surprising movie of the year. I said The Skeleton Twins is, but honestly, this is the most surprising movie of the year. It is the one movie that I never thought would be as good as it was. I never thought I was going to love this movie as much as I did. Number 3 is Still Alice. Still Alice is a fantastic movie with a very good with an amazing, realistic performance from Julianne Moore. That's why I love this movie so much. It is the one movie that really got to me. It really made me feel for her character. These don't even seem like characters. This really feels like an actual family who's suffering, who's going through Alzheimer's. And especially because you know what's going to happen to Alice. The movie makes you infer things. The movie doesn't tell you what's going to happen. The movie doesn't show you certain things. You just need to think of what ends up happening with Alzheimer's and the outcome of what's going to happen to her character. And the family in the movie, how they want to stick by her, but they realize that they can't be by her 24/7. It's a heartbreaking story with an amazing performance from Julianne Moore. This is not some Hollywoodized tale of Alzheimer's. This is a realistic tale that really gets into the nitty-gritty life of Alzheimer's. It's very dark, It's very gritty. It gets darker and darker as it goes on, and that's what I love about Still House, is how realistic it was. And Julia Moore better win that Oscar. She better win the Oscar. She is my pick for Best Actress at the Oscars. I'm calling it. She's going to win it. I am calling it. She is going to win it for this movie. She is absolutely fantastic. Number 2 is the one movie that truly shocked me. There aren't too many movies this year that shocked me. There really aren't. And this movie legitimately shocked me. It has some of the most shocking twists in a very long time. I almost put this movie number 1. These two movies, the last two movies, we're finally getting down to it. These two movies, I kept switching around. As I watched this movie, I kept switching it around. I almost put this movie at number 1. That's how much I love this movie. Number 2 is Gone Girl. Gone Girl was such a great movie because it constantly got you to think. It constantly got you to think, okay, what is actually going on here? Is this really what's going on? Should I really trust this character? Is this character lying? Is this character not who they say they are? It's one of those kind of movies. It's so intriguing. It's such an intriguing concept. It really got you to think about the media. It got you to think about, maybe not everything the media is saying is true. It got you to think of how stupid some people are. It shows the idea of how people shouldn't be suspicious over other people and how some people are just too paranoid. It gave an amazing performance from Rosamund Pike, an amazing performance from Ben Affleck, and an amazing, amazing direction by David Fincher. Probably some of the best directing of the year. It gives the best screenplay of the entire year. This movie has the best screenplay of the entire year. It constantly kept me guessing. I almost put this movie number 1. It has one of the best endings of the year that I don't care it ends abruptly. A lot of people have a problem with the ending. I love the ending to this movie. I love Gone Girl. I was very, very close to putting it number 1, but I didn't. And now, guys, here we go. My number 1 pick for 2014. You guys probably know what it is. You guys probably know because it hasn't been on the list yet. You guys are probably wondering, where is that movie? Well, that movie is at number 1. Number 1 is, I'm going to do a drum roll. Cheesy, but Boyhood. Number 1 is Boyhood. There was no movie that affected me. There was no movie that I remember more. There is no movie that I watch back more than Boyhood. I watched back this movie yesterday. I watched back certain segments of this movie, and it really reminded me of how much I love this movie. I was hesitant at putting Gone Girl as number 1. Rewatching this movie, no, definitely, Boyhood is the best film of the year, because this movie is not a movie. It is an experience. It is an experience of seeing this boy go through his life. It is an experience of seeing him go through adolescence and going through becoming a man and going through, he matures as the movie goes on. The dialogue is great. It's very realistic dialogue. There's stuff that even if you don't want to relate to this movie, you will relate to this movie. That's how relatable this movie is. And I think that Boyhood portrays that in such a good way. And that's something I just love that Boyhood did. And something that I personally just loved about Boyhood is how much it got me to relate to this movie and how relatable it was. I'm not like Mason. I'm really not like his character at all. But there are so many things that he goes through that I can personally relate to. Not everything he goes through, but there are certain things that I can relate to. And even if you're not a boy, if you're a mom, you can relate to this movie. If you're a dad, you can relate to this movie. If you're a sister of someone, you can relate to this movie. If you're a brother of someone, you can relate to this movie. If you're even a friend to someone, you can relate to this movie. That's how relatable Boyhood is. And it has the best directing of the year from Richard Linklater, who better win Best Directing, because he did some of the best directing to this entire movie. It honestly is the biggest accomplishment of the 21st century. Everyone said it is, and I must agree. It is the biggest accomplishment of the 21st century. It is one of the biggest accomplishments I've seen. It is one of the most impactful movies I've seen. It is the best coming-of-age movie I've seen in a very, very long time. It constantly made me into the story. I never lost focus in this movie. This movie felt like it was an hour long. That's how good this movie was. That's how much I love this movie. That's how much I love Boyhood. If you guys have not seen Boyhood right now, do yourself a favor. Check it out right now. It is absolutely fantastic. I love this movie, and I absolutely love everything about Boyhood. And when I thought about what my favorite movie of 2014 was, everything that I love in a movie, everything that makes a perfect movie to me, Patricia Arquette gives one of the most heartbreaking performances of the year. That end scene, if she does not win Best Supporting Actress, I don't know what will get her that, because that end scene better get her that. Ethan Hawke gave an amazing performance. The Richard Linklater's daughter gave an amazing performance in this movie. Everyone gave an amazing performance. And if you guys have not seen Boyhood, check it out right now. It has everything that is perfect in a movie for me. It has amazing acting, brilliant direction, a great story, great screenplay, and it keeps you invested the entire time. And that's what I love about Boyhood. And guys, that's it. That's it for my top 10 movies of 2014. And I honestly can't believe that it's over. It's over. That's the end of my 2014 movies. And I must say, this has been a fantastic year for movies. Now, I will say, I have not seen Whiplash. I have not seen Birdman. If you guys are wondering, where the hell's Whiplash? Where the hell's Birdman? I didn't see them. I didn't see those movies because they didn't come to my theater. They haven't gone to Soul. Well, Whiplash came onto like a website, but it's in Russian, so I'm not gonna watch a Whiplash in Russian, obviously. I was this close to watching Whiplash, and I couldn't because it was in Russian. Whatever. I haven't seen, I didn't see Selma because it didn't come to my theater yet. That's limited. American Sniper didn't come to my theater either. So if you're wondering where those movies are, they're not on this list because they haven't come to my theater yet. But those are the movies that I personally loved in 2014. If you guys are upset that Boyhood's number one, definitely check it out. Let me know what you guys think of this list. What are your top 10 lists? I'd love to hear what your top 10 list is. I love to watch people's top 10 lists because it really shows what people think a great movie is. I love seeing people's top 10 lists. It's very interesting to me. I love talking about it. I will definitely, if you guys want to talk about your top 10 list, I'm more than welcome to talk about it. I think it's a great topic to talk about, especially at the end of the year. I have loved reviewing these movies to you. I'll see you guys for movie reviews in 2015. My next video will probably be, honestly, for the movie preview of January because I really want to get into that. Got some pretty terrible movies to talk about, but let's hope that 2015 is another great year for movies. I will see you guys next year. As far as movie reviews go, I'll see you guys next year. So cliche, but whatever. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the January movie preview show. And let me know what your top 10 is, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Okay, bye. Oh, also, guys, as usual, all the links to my reviews all the links to every single movie that I just put in my top 10 list will be in the description down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.